Okie dokie. Well, that took enough time to get here, but we are here with the Assassinato Alex Fitzgerald. Alex, we had a little bit of a technical issue, but we're here. We're finally streaming. We've been streaming for a while, but how are you?
I'm fantastic. How you doing?
I mean, I'm breathing still. It's a little unsettling when you have some technical issues, but we appreciate everybody for being patient with us. I sometimes you can only do as much as you can, and technology will still smack you in the face and say,
Yes.
"Not today." So,
Definitely.
that's okay. You know what? And that's poker too. Sometimes you can do as much as you can, and you get smacked in the face. But so we have some players at World College Poker. We have a final table coming up on Saturday that you're helping us stream and broadcast to the masses. And we have some players, 8 players for that matter, 4 from the East and 4 from the West, that did not necessarily get smacked in the face. They got smacked by the deck in the right way, and they are on to the final table. For those of them that may not know who you are, know your pedigree, tell us about what you've done in poker, what you do now, and what people should know about you.
Sure. My name is Alexander Fitzgerald. My online name for years was Assassinato. I still do sometimes play under that name.
Mm-hmm.
I went pro in 2006 out of high school, and I played a lot of sit and goes at the beginning because that was really big at that time. Then I went into tournaments because back then when you got better at sit and goes, you moved into tournaments. Then I moved into cash games around 2007. A lot of bum hunting, 1, 2, 2, 4, and playing some tournaments. I've always felt a really good portfolio for poker is 90% bread and butter games, 10% swing for the fences with tournaments, have fun with it. But I've been really lucky with tournaments when I do play them. I've had WPT and EPT final tables. I have W Coop and Scoop wins. I'm really thankful for that. Just missed the million final table last year on American Network, but still trying to get more of them.
That's all right.
But yeah, right now what I do a lot of is, actually, I don't know why I said right now. I've been doing this for 10 years, but for 10 years, I've really enjoyed the coaching side of things because there's something very pure about sitting there with a guy that wants to get better at something that is a skill that can protect you in life. Because I've played card games in South Korea, Brazil, Ukraine, everywhere. And if you get that skill, it really does help you in life. It's one of those life skills that a man should try to possess, learn how to play cards, right? Yeah. It's really fun getting to teach a guy how to do that. I'm not manly enough to be able to play football professionally or any of that, but I can teach you all how to play cards to a point, right?
Right.
And yeah, that's been fun.
Absolutely, and it's helped you. Basically, I was watching, I believe, one of the EPT interviews from your '09 San Remo thing, and you said that you cleaned fish guts off the floor for 6 weeks as one of the jobs before you turned pro.
Yeah, man.
And now this gig plays a little. Do you miss the fish guts at all? At all?
No, but there's something I heard about. I heard about this, and I don't know if it's true, but it's something like, if you look at some particular group of men that have succeeded at some type or something or other, there's a lot of military service in the background, martial arts, something like that. And I am fully convinced the reason for that is because when we were doing it was about 6 weeks of commercial fishing. I was the worst commercial fisherman of all time. After you do that, like, those are literal 100-hour weeks. Like, if you are awake, you are working. It's 7 days a week. After you do that for 6 weeks, like, you will never complain ever again. Like, when I got back, or if you do complain in the back of your head, you're going to be like, oh, this is ridiculous. So yeah, when I got home, and I could sit in an air-conditioned poker room and, have drink girls bring me free drinks and just sit there. I was like, this is nice, man. I'm just going to sit here and wait for aces. And yeah, thankfully, a lot of people can't do that, man. Or
Right,
like,
yeah.
This kid's been sitting here for 4 hours, but I think he's trying to put one over on me right now, right? And they'd pay you off. So that was fantastic.
No, that's awesome. So let's go to your origin story then. So some of the college students that know how you got to where you are through those humble beginnings. Did you start in college? What age did you start playing the game?
Now, when I was 15 years old, the moneymaker boom was going on, and at my high school, a lot of people were playing, like in the lunchroom, at the lunch tables, in the back of classes, and whatnot. And I realized pretty quickly there's a way to play this. It's you wait for a hand and you bet. And to those kids, I thought I was smart, but to those kids, $4 or $5 was not much of anything. But I was working at Arby's at the time, and Arby's is. By the way, that's the funniest fast food restaurant to work at. Like it sounds like a joke. Like, where did you work at? Arby's. And but like I would get $5 an hour after I paid my taxes. So when some kid would just go like, "Ah, shucks, well here's $5," I'd go, "What? Really?"
Yeah.
And so I started reading. It kind of clicked really early on that there's a way to play this, because if people are willing to part with their money and it's recreation, there is a profit margin. And if you're someone who can just sit there and wait, you can make money. So I wasn't good, but I started reading every poker book I could. If I didn't understand it, but I thought it was valuable, I'd read it again. So I read The Theory of Poker once, didn't get it. Read The Theory of Poker twice, didn't get it. Read The Theory of Poker a third time, really got it that time.
There we go.
And, at that time, Harrington on Hold'em. But I worked other jobs to support myself. I worked as a commercial fisherman. I worked at an Arby's. I moved Persian carpets. I was a security guard. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Oh, landscaping. Did a lot of that. And at 18, I moved near the University of Washington because I just wanted to be near the action. But my first 2 months of working a security job down there, I made $7,000. And that was back when you could rent an apartment somewhere near Seattle for like $700 a month. So things have certainly changed, but I was thinking like, well, I'm making more money here than I'm making with security. So yeah, October 31st, 2006, I quit my quote last real job. I haven't had a paycheck from an actual employer since then. It's all been card playing or making money from poker some other way since then.
And hey, that's worked out really well. Now that's maybe not the path everybody will take. But what do you think took you from a good player that was patient and then bet when they found a good hand to a great player that was able to play high stakes tournaments, play final tables? What do you think some of your major milestones were to get you to that point?
Well, that's it really happened. One of the reasons I'm really big on coaching is it's not like you don't become better when you do it yourself. So there was a lot of times, if you think about a lot of the great players, they came up in groups. They came up, obviously, back in the day, John Jawanda, Phil Ivey, Daniel Negreanu, all those gentlemen were friends. And they would bounce ideas off of each other. And the great part about coaching was I got a little – I did get lucky when I started, which was first I was a total nit. I should have kept up with that. At some point, everybody realized I was really tight. I could get away with bluffing, and then I just didn't stop bluffing. Financially, I fluctuated. I started realizing I should start coaching, because if people are going to pay me $100 an hour or whatever it was back then, that's not – an actuary doesn't make that kind of money. It's kind of weird to turn that down, and it's a really good way to have purpose. You wake up at 8 a.m, you talk to someone who really, sometimes we talk a little about life after it's done. But the great thing about that job is if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, why are they paying you? Yeah. So you have to be really on point at all times. And that was really fun, because something I learned really quickly is it was okay to say, I don't know the answer, let me look it up, but you couldn't not know how to look it up. And that really expanded everything at that time. And that was back in 2009, 2010, where if you could just combination count, you could realize, wow, people really don't have much of anything on this board or that board or that board. And then strategically, tactfully, I started adding in more bluffs. And that's when I started having more results. And everything I was doing poker wise.
So then let's look at, we're going to have 8 players that could lean a little bit more still on learning on the recreational side. What advice or what sort of mindset should these players bring into a final table when they've maybe had a few hands with some of their opponents, but they haven't played maybe a big, deep stacked final table like they're about to? Because they played a turbo tournament. If you didn't know, we had our fall brawl qualifying. The West played on December 5th, the East on December 6th, and they played down to 4 people in a turbo. Very different. When you get to about 2 hours in, it's basically, can I find a hand to jam with at my stack depth? Right. So, and now it's 1,000 big blinds deep coming up on Saturday to start. Very, very, very different. So what's the mindset and strategy these players should have going into something like this?
That's an excellent question. So the first thing that really helped me, what has helped me as a poker player and has helped most of my students is, first of all, a lot of people put pressure on themselves, which is you got to be the best poker player in the world. Otherwise, it's not worth it. There's a lot of black and white thinking, especially when it comes to American culture. You either got it or you don't. And that's not true. You can work very hard and be a working class player, and you can make some money and just be fine. So don't tell yourself this is the be all end all, and if you don't win, it's the worst thing in the world. It's fun. Playing cards is fun. Go out there to have fun, but at the same time, give yourself license to make mistakes. If I was a boxing trainer, I said go out there and don't get hit, I'd be the worst boxing trainer on earth. Because of course you're going to get hit. Floyd Mayweather got hit. Show me a guy with better defense than that gentleman, and he got hit. He got hit by Conor McGregor, who wasn't even a boxer. You're going to go in there, and the great thing about No Limit Hold'em, and the infuriating thing about No Limit Hold'em is everybody's got a shot. The equities are, at best, you're an 80% favorite, which means your other guy has a 20% shot. If I showed you 5 Dixie cups and there was a ball underneath one, and you found the one with the ball, you wouldn't think there was anything miraculous. Yet when you have 10s to 7s and the 7 comes on the flop, everybody, oh my God, what happened?
Right.
But here's the thing. And if you know people who play backgammon or play some other games, there's crazier bad beats in those games, right? But here's the thing. It's going to be like a heavyweight title match. When you're going into a fist fight, expect to get punched in the face. It's going to happen. There's going to come a time you lose a bunch of your chips because you know what? They want it just as bad as you. The equity is going to run close. Things happen. There's a reason we call it wire to wire when someone doesn't lose a pot. There's a word for it because it's so rare. It doesn't happen that often. Go in there, expect to get punched. It's a heavyweight match. Anybody could knock anybody out at any time. You all have that power. Because if the other person gets sick of you, they can just start shoving. They have that power. And go in there and tell yourself, give yourself a license to make mistakes. Tell yourself you're working hard. You got another 50 years in this game if you work hard enough and take care of your body. That's why I love this game. You get to keep playing it. I feel like I'm just starting in my 30s, right? I feel like the first 10, 15 years, I was just learning. I feel like everything's starting right now. You got all the time in the world. This is going to be an excellent experience. Have fun and go for the win. Go for that trip to Mexico. You know what I mean? Enjoy it, man. You want to be out there and picture it. And you know what? The prizes are excellent, even if that doesn't happen. So just go for it, okay?
That's right. Great advice. I think that it can apply to anybody facing a final table, one of their bigger final tables for the first time. You just have to go for it. And speaking of the prizes you just mentioned, if anybody watching that's wondering what our players are going to be battling for on Saturday, you can go to worldcollegepoker.com and click on the prizes button at the top, and you're going to open your eyes. You're going to be like, holy cow, what kind of stuff are we playing for? I'll open it just to give you an idea of what we're playing on board. I must ask you some of the prizes first off. Speaking of heavyweight title fight, we are fighting for a title belt worth about $1,500. On somebody, the winner will take home a championship belt as the first champion of World College Poker. Have you ever thought about this? I mean, what kind of ICM consideration can you ever have when the prizes are money? It's trips to Mexico and coaching, all that. Yeah.
Brother, I'd be wearing that to the airport if I was going to Mexico with that. I'd be like, hey, you know how I got this? But no, it's one of those, it's fun things, and you can show it to everybody. You want to have those trophies because at the end of life, I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was Tony Robbins or something, but it sounds pretty cheesy, so it sounds like him. But at the end of life, you're just not going to remember everything, right? And if you got that championship belt, that is such an awesome story. It's like, yeah, I went up against everybody and I got that. And you do it for the personal satisfaction. When you play, obviously, let's say you're at a final table with millions and millions of dollars. That's life-changing money for everybody. You got to study the ICM and you got to be on point with that. But if you're playing where here, first place is fantastic and the other prizes are good, but like it ain't gonna kill you if you got to go for it. You got to go for the gold on this one.
Absolutely. I mean, if we go down the list here, first place gets their own personalized Poker Bros avatar. You're forever enshrined in the Poker Bros app. I mean, come on, that's beautiful. Awesome enough.
That's
and then
beautiful. You
can win a 6-day, 5-night hotel package in either Cancun, Mazatlan, or Puerto Vallarta, courtesy of our friends at PLOQuickPro.com. Your friend Jonathan Little, you can win a private coaching session, and I believe the top 4 are guaranteed, or top 3 are guaranteed a 1-year premium membership at one of the pokercoaching.com, one of the places that you do a lot of content for, and lots of other stuff. Wireless premium headphones, you get hoodies, swag bags, all that type of stuff. And even the other prizes down the road are good. Somebody will win a private lesson with Patrick Antonius. High stakes poker. That's crazy. And somebody will also win a private lesson with you along the way as well. It's insane chances here. So for somebody that they read all that and they start to get dreaming about what could happen, and they start thinking about how they're going to play. What might be one thing that somebody goes into this final table thinking that is a misconception? What's something that's not quite right in their thinking potentially?
Well, I'll give you one that this took me a long time to understand, which was when I started playing, it was about the money. I wanted the money. I needed the money. And obviously, it was important as a professional to do that, but as things loosened up, I started playing more for the love of the game, and that's when I made a realization, which was I love, obviously the financial aspect of it. It gets your blood up, it gets you moving, but really just having all the chips at the end is something that's really fun. And when you're taking care of your family or whatever, like the money tends to go a little faster, right? But once you start playing for the love of it, this is what I didn't understand when I was younger. I'd get to a final table, I'd see the big prizes at the top, right? And I final tabled $1 million. I final tabled those 1.5 millions on Full Tilt back in the day and everything. And in my head, I said, if I don't make a mistake, at the very least, I'll finish like 3rd or 4th. And I'd finish 6 or 7 every damn time, right? And then when I finally got there and I said, you know what, man, I'm just grateful to be at this final table. I'm grateful to play. I'm not going to leave anything out there. If I triple barrel bluff and I get caught, but I like the reasoning I did it, and he just had the top of his range, I'll go on with my day. Once I started doing that, I magically started finishing 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4th all the time, because the true thing is, the real reason for that is it's human to get a little unsettled mentally at a final table. That's only human nature. It takes a long time to get there. Just the time invested, aside from the prize pools, get people a little like, man, I played this for however many hours. I got through so many people. I better not make a mistake. And it's really the person who goes out there and is looking for the chances to profit, not trying to. There's 2 different ways to force it. You can try to play every pot and get up in everybody's face and think that is really solid, good poker that's going to give you the first place. Sometimes that's insecurity as well. Like I used to do that as well. Like, haha, look, I'm out here. I'm not going to fold. And then I'd be out of the tournament, right? And then the other thing you can do is I'll just try to play perfect. You're not looking for ways to win. You're trying to not lose. And that is not helpful because you might have a really weird play, a really weird value bet that could get you to the top of that final table, and you're not going to see it if you're petrified of making a mistake. You got to find that equilibrium where you're just in the moment, present, aware of the other hands, but focusing on the hand in front of you.
Right, and you're, when I've watched some of your stuff, you're a big proponent of making some of those weird, uncomfortable, not in your wheelhouse kind of plays. Like, I remember, I think it was one of the quizzes that you were doing on poker coaching that just due to a timing tell online, you're just like, you know what? I think this guy just got absolutely nothing. I'm going to 4-bet jam all in with King Jack off.
That one. That one. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't always work, but I mean, you get better at it the more you practice it.
Right.
Like I had a hand. What was it? On Sunday. Okay, I played a 16-hour session on Sunday. So if I trip over my words, my apologies, guys. I'm still reeling. But I was playing this 50,000 guaranteed, and I was lucky enough to get to the final table. But what set me up for that final table was I had King Jack offsuit. A guy was a little loose from the hijack he opened. I 3-bet from the cutoff. I wanted him all to myself. And this really loose player called me from the big blind. And the board came King 5-3. And the big blind player checked to me. I bet. And he called really quickly, like, don't you dare bet again. We're talking about timing tells a bet. Now, you think about it. If he cold called with ace-king pre-flop, which would have been weird to begin with, on that flop, he's got to think about raising because he's got an equity monster right there. King-queen he's beating me with. But everything else, like his 7s, his 6s, his 9s, his 10s, his king 10 suited, if this guy was loose, I was thinking I'm beating this guy. So I set him up for 3 streets, and he called it all off with 9s. That's like 80 big blinds. But if you're like, oh my God, what if he raises me? What happens if I bet and he raises me? Okay, I'll just check in pot control here. That was the biggest pot of the tournament. That set me up for the final table. And once you have those 70 big blinds and everybody else has 30 or 50 big blinds, when you're double barreling, when you're check raising, when you're 3-betting, going from 30x to 10x for them, that's existential. That makes them see, like, I'm out of this tournament if I don't know what I'm doing at this point. But if you go from 70x to 50x, life will continue. Right. You always have to put yourself in those spots by looking for points of profitability that other people are not looking for.
Absolutely, you're finding those not even necessarily weak points, but just areas of the game and pots where people don't seem to want it. Take those little small pots.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like you can steal. From like one of the things I think in my game that I've even realized is that people from the cutoff for the hijack raising just absolutely crazy wide open small blind 3-bet whatever you want and they just fold. They just fold. You take 2 bigs.
Big blind too, because in the big blind, it's like, oh, in their head, I would call here with ace-jack offsuit. I would call with pocket 8, so this must be ace-queen or 9-9. So they do this funny thing like, okay, I'll call 8x. All right, I missed the flop. I'm out. 8 big blinds, bro? That's your win rate for 100 hands. Are you serious? And nobody says anything. Right. Nobody looks at that. You'll see a guy do that 4 times in an orbit, and nobody blinks an eye because, what's the other option? You fold? To the 3-bet, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so for people, I guess, one of the things I guess to touch on when these players sit down, they get in their session, and they may not know how everybody plays. What's your first 3 orbits strategy or just thought process when you're trying to play through hands?
That's a great question. You got to look for the showdowns. You got to pay attention to the showdowns. Now, obviously, 20 hands isn't going to tell you much, but if you see a guy limp in 8-7 offsuit from under the gun +2, call a raise, and the board comes king 7-2, and he calls down a couple of streets, the other person pot controls their king queen for whatever reason, you got to be paying attention like that. This person's live. This person wants to call down and see if their hands hit. And guess what? You're allowed to do that. It's a free world. Yep. You're allowed to do that. But if you're going to call and hope your hands hit, there's only a couple different ways to win. You have to have the best hand. It has to remain the best hand. You need to isolate that person and start taking the chips. Now let's see let's say you see a person who keeps seeing flops but keeps folding very easily on the flops, like 1 second, 2 second, doesn't even think about it. That's a very fit or fold player. You can isolate that person and see if they fold on the flops. Now let's see if someone's taking a lot of time all the time and keeps calling down. That's someone who's up in their head and they're really afraid of making mistakes, and they're going to be calling because they're really worried somebody's bluffing them. You got to take the bluff out of your game there, and you got to be value betting. And a lot of this stuff is, if you give yourself a license to, if you tell yourself, I'm going to finish 7th, a very decent percentage of the time in this tournament because I really want to go to Mexico, right? Right. If you tell yourself that and you're like, I could finish 8th, I could finish 7th, that's okay. If you tell yourself those things and relax a little, a lot of this stuff is just common sense. If a guy's normally folding on the flop and you see that a couple of times, it's like, well, this isn't someone who gets really touchy about c-bet. You see a person that's time banking, calling, time banking, doesn't want to fold. That's someone who gets a little touchier about it. Maybe you don't want to be like 3-betting, c-betting versus that person nearly as much. Maybe you want to go for the value bet a little bit more with that. And if you give yourself that license to possibly finish 7th, that's going to be your best chance to finish first.
Right, and just pay attention. I feel like that's one of the most important things in life and in poker, paying attention to your surroundings. We're here with Alex Fitzgerald talking before a little final table strategy before our fall brawl. Folks that are watching on Twitch, I want to thank everybody that's watching on Twitch right now. A lot of your fan base watching right now. Our final table stream with Alex Fitzgerald and Clayton Fletcher this Saturday, starting at 2:15 Central, 3:15 Eastern. We're going to have lots of special guests, and we're going to watch these players. As we said, we're going to watch their decisions, watch their timing, watch all these sort of things so we can figure out how they play and how the story will unfold. Let's talk about that real quick while I mentioned it. You're going to have Clayton with you commentating a final table. What's got you excited for this stream on Saturday? And have you done a lot of final table broadcasts in the past?
I've done a couple. I've done like 2 or 3. But, I'm a little bit more – I guess I didn't play up like the trying to be as big on the like I guess the social media side of poker. So I don't know. I haven't done as many as maybe I should have. But I'm really into like playing cards. You know what I mean? Right. It's really weird to be like, hey, I won this. It's kind of like a plumber going like, I fixed this pipe. You know, like it's kind of my job at a certain point. So I haven't done a ton of it, but I guess that's why I'm really grateful to do it, because the few times I did do it, it was really fun. I watch poker all day, play poker all day, every day anyway. I look at a lot of databases. I look at millions of hands, and I really love solving what a poker player is doing. And to get to do it live, to deconstruct live, what do you think is going on here? What do you think the players are doing? What kind of mental dynamics are playing out? It's really fun to be a part of that because, of course, there's a great sports journalism tradition in my home country, the USA, and there's a certain talent to Vin Scully calling a baseball game. And, of course, you could never approach that, but you want to give it your best shot, and it's really fun. It's a real opportunity and a pleasure to be able to call a final table. That's really fun. And then I get to use all my knowledge of databases and poker tendencies and studies and stuff like that, and to go, okay, when he does this, he most likely would have that. He would respond to that. And Clayton is just the best. He's a comedian. He's so funny. I went to one of his shows and I couldn't breathe. He was so funny, man. I could not continue. It was incredible. So just getting to riff with him and to talk poker with him. And he's really good at asking questions that perhaps I haven't considered, giving a different view. And with that going back and forth and the action with people playing for big prizes that I honestly wish I could play for, that's really exciting. I think it's going to be fun.
No, and the thing, too, is that even though the tournament was free for these college players to play in, you don't have to play like it was free. You know, a lot of people play those play money. They're just like, all right, all in. You know, you can go to whatever Poker Bros, like play money, ring game. Oh, yeah. I was doing it to test last night. People were just all in every hand. You don't have to play that way. This matters. These are real prizes. This is a real moment and a real opportunity. And I know that people in the chat, I'm going to tell everybody that we will send out another email. You'll see the link for that final table on Saturday. We will get you that so you can watch Alex and Clayton and all our special guests for that final table. What do you see as far as because we're celebrating the youth in poker with this event and continuing to build World College Poker events into 2021. What do you see in the future with the youth in poker, and why is an event like World College Poker so important to growing the game?
It's incredibly important that we grow the game because there's a lot of competition. Back when I was in high school, there wasn't anything to do. There was no MySpace. There was no Facebook. There was none of that. There was no Twitch. There was no esports. So playing cards was pretty fun. There wasn't a whole lot to do. And there's so many entertainment options for people now. You got Netflix, you got esports, you got Twitch. So we got to grow it with young folks. And honestly, I think it's really fun with the college angle because everybody, I'm from Seattle, so it was always really fun. Like my stepdad went to Wazoo and, I lived in the U District, like giving him a hard time when the Cougars lost and everything. It's really fun. So everybody repping their college, I think is really cool. I think poker's a great game, I think, to learn as a young person as well, because it teaches you problem solving. It teaches you patience. It teaches you a lot of valuable skills that, look, I played a lot of Halo when I was young, but I don't know if it taught me anything, other than to hit unlimited grenades and derelict and laugh at my buddy who was sniping. But, like poker actually is it's a very good intellectual pursuit because it teaches you how to work with incomplete information and deal with failure in life. And it's just very neat how many people are coming together and how much people are into this and to get real prizes like this. So like you said, even though it's a free roll, I'll tell you what, when I played free rolls, when I was starting, first place would be $2. It wasn't going to, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I didn't misspeak. It wasn't $200. It was $2. And we would sit there and play them because that was how you got a roll up back then if you couldn't deposit. And yeah, the idea you can go to Cancun for 6 days, bro, like off of just going in. I think this is amazing. Of course, that brings a lot of people because it is a fantastic prize. And it is great to be able to bring people in with those kind of prizes. And hopefully while they're there, enjoy the coffee and mental warfare, man. It's a great game. It's a great job. I love more people are enjoying what I do.
Right. I mean, and like we said, somebody was even saying that bring on the gaming generation. We've been waiting for them.
Let's go.
Right. Yeah. Bring on the Halo players. Bring on the League of Legends people. But I mean, honestly, it does. That poker is an esport. We've been trying to get. We've been in talks, and it's a conversation we have all the time at World College Poker and with some of our people that we really do think it's an esport. It has it has the strategy, the mental preparation. You have to do the work. You do have incomplete information. You're reacting there, and you have to sit there for hours and be mentally prepared and mentally sharp to enter a pot at any moment for your tournament life. So it's absolutely an esport, and what we're watching is the foundations of poker being shown as an esport, I think, on Saturday.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Let's go into, as we're heading into near the end of the hour here, about 1 o'clock Central, or about 12:45 Central. Let's talk about homework. Now, I know it's the end of the semester for a lot of these players, but they have 2 days. They have 2 or 3 days to get themselves as prepared as possible to try and take this thing down. What's your one piece of homework for our final table players in the next 2 to 3 days?
So the best way I could put it is with 2 days, obviously, you can only do so much.
Right.
So forgive me for another boxing analogy, but there was this pay-per-view fight over the last weekend. Errol Spence, one of the best fighters in the world, was fighting Danny Garcia. And Danny Garcia's dad kept going, well, let your hands go. Well, let your hands go. And he's like, hey, we had to drill that before we got here, right? That we can't just do that in the moment. So your first homework assignment is to decide how you want to play this final table, and don't go calling audibles all the time when you're at this final table. Decide right now with these 2 days if first is really what you want. If first isn't what you want, you can ladder up and use some ICM. If first is what you want, which is what I would want, I'd be going for it. Make that decision right now, and don't go calling audibles all the time when you're at the actual table. Clearly decide how you want to play, so you don't go looking like the Denver Broncos when they were starting that practice squad wide receiver, you know?
Right, yeah.
And, but under QB, under center.
Right,
but
yeah.
Your second piece of homework is play poker tournaments that have some gravitas to it. So it can be with your friends and you guys take it very seriously. You can play a $5 tournament, something, and try to look for angles you haven't looked before. If somebody just keeps opening, try to corner them with some 3-bets and see what happens. If someone doesn't want to fold the C-bets or someone's a little tighter, try to rack up some check folds, as weird as that sounds. But like checking and folding will save you big blinds that are pretty big. And if there's one thing you could learn, pay attention to spots where you go, I don't think this guy is folding. Like, let's say the board comes an ace high and you think the guy's got an ace and he can't fold it. Start trying to overbet versus that person, because at the beginning of this final table where stacks are deep, if you do some big bets and the other guy's not ready for it and he doesn't have the fold button, you can have a very big advantage very early at this final table, and that is a place you want to be.
Right. I mean, it's a little harder to do an overbet when you're 40, 50 big blinds in the middle of a tournament. And at that point, you kind of have to do a little bit more controlled point. But when you're deep at the beginning, with 1,000 big blinds deep in particular, it's time to put some money in. I mean, get some money in where you think you have an edge, you know.
Right. It's called no limit hold'em for a reason. It's not called half pot no limit hold'em. And a lot of people forget that. That's been my big thing this year. Is like, wait a minute, people don't want to fold. Why am I not taking advantage of that? And that's been really fun, getting the knockout punches, the home runs in.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I'm just so excited. I'm excited to see what these players do. One of the topics that we brought up, we have a really cool one of our sponsors is Poker Power, dedicated to helping women get into the game. And we actually do have a woman named Vanessa at the final table this time around. So we're really excited about that. For women in poker and for maybe for Vanessa, what do you think her mindset might be facing the dudes at this final table? What do you think she might be saying to herself going into this?
It's it's anybody's ball game. They can't do anything now. You can you fire the chips in just the same way. You can do everything I just talked about. What are they going to do? You know, this is something I don't like is live. Sometimes it is a boys club. Sometimes it's not accommodating to a bunch of different it's not as accommodating to a lot of people. It's a lot of just bro time, right? And you can't do that to open up the game. But when it comes to online poker, they can't say anything to you. You don't have to read the chat. You just go in there and you beat their butt. You know, you can do the exact same things as anybody. And that's what's great about this game is it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what sex you are, what race you are. If you can play ball, there's nothing anybody can do. Now, if somebody's got a little bit of a problem losing to a girl, you'll see that sometimes in pickup basketball. You'll see that in poker.
On the playground.
Pay attention. Yeah, exactly. You'll that maybe that person isn't folding to you. Use that to your advantage. You get second pair top kicker. Go for 3 streets. It'll be hilarious when they table their stupid pair, right? And then I bet you they'll fold to you after that point. You just got to work with and roll with the punches as they come.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, this is the time to take advantage. And I've always thought that the women in the game are already brilliant for playing in the first place. You already have to be really special to be a woman in poker. And there are so many great female poker players out there that have won EPTs and bracelets and all that sort of thing. I mean, there's been a line of them. So, by the way, check out Poker Power, a great organization. They're holding online classes. If you have, women in your life that really want to get into the game and find a positive and sort of open place to do that, a safe place to do that, Poker Power, one of our partners here with World College Poker. Let's think about what else do we have. Oh, okay. There's one part that I guess I didn't bring up before we get into some of your trainings. I've always considered you to be the tough love coach, the practical advice coach. We were talking about this the other day. What is your, you've done a little bit of it so far, but give me your one piece of tough love advice to our final table players.
Oh, tough love. It's I mean, if you want to get real with it, it's always nobody remembers third. You always want to be the one. I won that. You see that championship belt? I did that. That's how life works. It pays to be a winner, as they say in the Marines, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. And you spend, let's put it this way. By the way, guys, with the tough love thing, I always have to say this. It's more memorable that way, right? It's a bit of a shtick for everybody who thinks I'm really trying to be mean. That's not the thing. If someone has ever talked to you very tough, you probably remember every word. And guess what? That's really important when it comes to poker coaching, when you need to remember a lot of different things. But when it comes to this final table, the tough love thing is, people don't remember third. People don't remember second. When it comes to this life, it does pay to be a winner. If you're that person who can close out, who can reach in for that little extra something, who can find that angle that other people didn't see, it pays off. And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. No matter how much you think you have left, there's always a little more. You just got to keep going out there and swinging. You just have to keep going. And if you go down, you go down. But you don't want to be one of these people that goes out there and they're so afraid to make a mistake, they don't give themselves a chance to win. That happens. And you see that a lot at final tables. Sometimes there will be 7 guys that just don't want to play. And let's say the lady this time goes, I want that belt. She can get that belt if she goes out there and gets it. And sometimes it's the reverse. 7 guys are so worried about their egos. They're kind of overextending themselves because they don't want to say like, oh my God, what if I got bluffed, right? If you know he's never bluffing, just fold. Don't take that. Playing hard also can mean folding. One way to exploit your opponent is to fold, as Phil Galfond says. And that's really important. Have you ever had quads in C-bet and 5 people folded? It didn't feel good.
Yeah.
You can deliver that to this person if you think it's never a bluff. And if 7 people are just playing bonkers and you can sit there and play possum while they kill each other, that's another angle. But you got to be looking for the angles, and you have to be looking for the angles, and you have to want to win, because it is in this life. It is about first place. It is about winning. People do like winners. Good things happen to you when you bring that energy and you win. And you want to be in that place in life. And this is a great rehearsal for the rest of your life right here, if you can put it together here. And you know what? If you bluff it all off and finish 8th, I honestly think that's a good sign, because it shows you didn't wait around. It shows you didn't wait trying to get 4th and you instead finished 6th. You gave yourself a shot to win that belt.
Absolutely. Great advice. Got to go for it. Got to go for the belt. There can only be one on Saturday. Remember, folks, again, we'll send the link out. It's 2:15 Central, 3:15 Eastern, with Clayton Fletcher, Alex Fitzgerald, and some guests. Before we get going, as you said before, you do a lot of coaching, do a lot of consultation. What are some trainings that you're offering right now, and how can people get coaching from you?
Yes, sir. Go to pokerheadrush.com and you can sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get literally free poker coaching every single day. I've got a store. We'll go ahead and post the link with it at the end here. And the newest one I just did was called Poker Without Fear, which was, I started realizing a lot of my students kind of intellectually knew how to play poker right, but they kept playing the exact same way. They would cold call pre-flop, because that's a free roll to feel like a genius. You either lose 2 big blinds and who cares, or you hit the flop and you win like 20x and you feel great about yourself. But the way you get those big pots is you set up those big in position C-bets versus weak players, and you get a lot of money from top pairs and whatnot. And I did a 10-hour course with my buddy who actually showed the science of poker, and he put together a lecture that was really cool. And he got more on the math science side of it. And for 8 hours, over 200 quizzes, I just drilled the hell out of everybody in those lessons. And yeah, you can go there. You can use the promo code Holiday Cheer. We got a bunch of those products on sale right now at pokerheadrush.com. You can look for the site there. We'll also send you the link directly right after this. And use the promo code Holiday Cheer, and you can see some nice discounts on that. And if you want to work on any of the things we were just talking about right there, every one of my programs is quizzes, because I don't believe you can't learn how to swim reading a book. You have to get in there at some point. I'll show you real situations and real games, and I'll go. You have to look at this, and you need to figure this out. The first 50 times you're going to be crying. The next 50 times you're going to be wondering why I'm so mean. Then my condescending voice will get stuck in your head, and you're going to at some point start doing the moves that you really wanted to do, and you're going to start going, hey, this is a lot easier. That's just practice. That's how everybody learned. I learned, the people who taught me poker did that with me, and the way you're going to learn poker is the exact same way. So go ahead and check it out now, pokerheadrush.com.
That's right, pokerheadrush.com. And, of course, all of our final table players are guaranteed at least a standard membership to pokercoaching.com, where they can take some of your quizzes there as well. Highly recommend it. I just filter by Alex and went down and started with it because they're fun, man. But, yeah, check him out there. Check him out, pokerheadrush.com. And we are excited to see you. Again, we'll send the link out for the final table broadcast. It is on Saturday, December 12th. It's on the Twitch that you're watching right now, twitch.tv/World College Poker, and we will send out a corrected YouTube link, since the one today seemed to not want to work, but we will have that for you. 2:15 Central, 3:15 Eastern, a pregame show followed by all the action where we crown our first World College Poker champion. Alex, anything to say before we go?
Just happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Alex. Catch us then. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we will see you on Saturday for the Fall Brawl Final Table. Until then, Alec Rome saying bye-bye for now.